teacher sent him home with a letter threatening the 5-year-old with a 2-week suspension.
It was absurd. I couldn't believe that they were going to kick my son out of daycare for 2 weeks over a little toy gun. I mean, it wasn't even a gun, it was a Lego.
Yeah, Dave, it was frightening for sure, and to some at nearby Roberts Elementary, so unexpected that the school was locked down for a short time until everyone realized it was a drill.
Hackers leave a whimsical picture and a video ultimatum, suggesting they're poised for a massive leak of sensitive government information.
You are tuned in to Radio Free Canada, while we tell the story that major news refuses to cover. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're talking about protest, a revolution of consciousness, and the way that activism is working. We want you to stay tuned for 15 minutes while we talk about the real solutions to the story. This is recorded on Friday, February the 1st, 2013 at Guerrilla Radio Design Studios. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
Thanks for staying tuned. Remember, activism is working, and we've got the story for you right here. Stay tuned. Let's start it out. Let's run this. You make up your own mind right here.
5-year-old Joe Cruz loves his Legos. He was making a dinosaur.
It's the one with the long neck.
But Joe can also make a toy gun out of Legos. He did it for us.
So that's what you made at school?
But when he made one of these at his after-school program at West Hyannis Elementary, the teacher sent him home with a letter threatening the 5-year-old with a 2-week suspension.
It was absurd. I couldn't believe that they were going to kick my son out of daycare for 2 weeks over a little toy gun. I mean, it wasn't even a gun, it was a Lego.
According to school officials, Joe made the Lego gun, then began chasing other kids with it while making shooting sounds.
Even a Lego gun?
Even a Lego gun, okay? Pointing a gun and making shooting sounds can be uncomfortable to somebody. And it's not respectful. And if you're told to stop it, the student should adhere to that.
The Cruz family says they're fully aware of the tragic events nationwide in recent years, but that school officials are overreacting to a 5-year-old using his imagination.
How can a 5-year-old be expected to conform his behavior to that of an adult? You can't.
Yeah, it bothers me that he can't go to school and be a kid.
We are here to make sure that society is inoculated against the propaganda that's going on that says this is a civilization that's actually suppressing its own people.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see if Monsanto actually gets taken to court by the U.S. government, seeing most of them work for the U.S. government.
So we are going to cover the story, and what we're saying is the propaganda says it's okay to suppress your people and information when it's not. Just to clarify, remember CBC and CHBC are not telling you the story. What do we got coming up, brother?
Talking about Monsanto down in Argentina.
We've also got some protests going on in Berlin, all kinds of stuff happening around the world there.
And Anonymous's move on the U.S. Department of Justice.
Okay. So that's all coming up right here. Radio Free Canada, keeping broadcasting truth and freedom while they keep lying and saying that it's the news. Stay tuned. More coming up right here. And remember, police brutality 2012, 7,000 views and not a word from mainstream media. Let's check this out.
The Anaheim Police Department is facing continued protests over allegations of police brutality and excessive force. The department has been at the center of protests for more than a year because of a rash of police killings. Over the past 12 months, Anaheim police officers have been involved in 5 fatal shootings. Anaheim residents say this area has a long history of police brutality, and they want something done about it. Protesters say they're upset over the lack of action taken against the officers. One of the people killed by officers was Roscoe Cambridge, who was a mentally ill homeless man. Protesters say officers should be forced to receive better training when it comes to dealing with the mentally ill. But protesters say instead, police are quick to use lethal force because they rarely face punishment.
A lot of these people don't have family members or friends that were killed, but it's just an outraged community. And Anaheim Police Department will see more of that if something doesn't get done.
Protesters say they want to see federal investigators come to Anaheim and look at the department's long history of violence. The Orange County District Attorney's Office currently handles all cases of officer-involved shootings. So far, not a single officer in Orange County has been charged with wrongful homicide in connection with any shooting that occurred while on duty. Ross Frazier, Press TV, Los Angeles.
So there's two stories not being run here.
Yeah, they're not talking about the fact that they don't want Monsanto in Argentina.
Okay. And they're not talking about the fact that Monsanto's been kicked out of whole other countries. I mean, this is CHBC in action. We've got Franken apples happening in our own Okanagan Valley.
And nobody's talking about that either.
Nobody's protesting it. Nobody's standing in front of these Franken apple orchard fields and stopping them from operating. What the heck's going on?
Well, they are paying attention over in Europe.
Yes, and actually, this is one that should have made local news.
Yes, but you know.
You end up saying, yeah, but you know, it's these guys that say, trust us. Don't trust us. Check out our facts and check out this clip.
Sight of Army helicopters and the sound of gunfire created a lot of concern this afternoon in one Houston neighborhood. This happened in southeast Houston around the old Carnegie Vanguard High School, where he received a ton of phone calls from worried neighbors wondering what was going on. Well, Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willie is live to explain what it was. Jessica?
Yeah, Dave, it was frightening for sure, and to some at nearby Roberts Elementary, so unexpected that the school was locked down for a short time until everyone realized it was a drill. With military helicopters flying above her southeast Houston neighborhood, Frances Geralds didn't know what to think.
You know, when you see this, you think the worst. Right. When you hear this, you think the worst.
And so she passed along her concern.
She told me, don't come home because it sounds like we're in a war zone. Guns shooting and helicopters flying around over the house.
The Army, along with other agencies, had taken over the old Carnegie Vanguard High School. There were armed men in fatigues, plenty of weapons, and what many thought were real live rounds.
I felt like I was in a war zone. It just was nonstop. So I was terrified.
Turns out it was a multi-agency training drill that Gerald's wished would have come with warning.
They could have done a better job at notifying the neighborhood.
Others needed no explanation.
If it's to protect our kids, I'm all for it.
And an Army major who was out here wouldn't tell us exactly what kind of training they were doing. HPD was aware of what was going on, but the fire department apparently wasn't. In fact, an ambulance was even dispatched this way for a shots fired call until HPD told them it wasn't real. Reporting live tonight from Southeast Houston, Jessica Willie, 13 Eyewitness News.
So we want you to get informed.
Yeah, they're getting a little peed off in Berlin about big agriculture and taking over their own livelihoods.
You know, you should really make Germans mad about something.
Yeah, that's always a good idea, isn't it?
I mean, you know, they did such a good thing there. Remember, Monsanto has failed in every way that you can fail to provide food. Reduced crops, higher grocery store prices. This experiment has failed.
And every 30 seconds, another Indian farmer commits suicide by drinking pesticide.
Yes.
From Monsanto.
But those are stories. You're not being carried. We're agricultural based here in the Okanagan, but they're not carrying that story. People are fighting back, though, and a good group of guys called Anonymous. That's the video that you've seen on the wall here at YouTube, and they had carried through.
That they did.
So let's run this.
Just in, a military drill in downtown Miami, complete with these Black Hawk helicopters, elite soldiers, and police officers swarming the streets. It's kind of scary when you suddenly look up and see that, but it's all about being prepared for the unknown of urban combat.
And if you came across that scene that you just saw tonight, well, it likely left you in awe. Local 10 photographers, along with reporter Christina Vasquez, were there to witness it all. Christina.
In awe, and as you mentioned, it can be quite alarming. We counted them, 7 Black Hawks thundered across downtown Miami. A rare sight indeed to see these Black Hawks weaving in between downtown Miami buildings. And what I can tell you, what we know is that this was a joint military drill with the Department of Defense and Miami-Dade County Police. The rest, we are told, is classified, but for being a secret operation, it was certainly conducted, as you see, in such a public way, in full public view as they made their way from downtown Miami over to Marlins Park and then roared right back. I can tell you that a similar drill was conducted on Tuesday night.
And any indication, Christina, if we'll see this again tomorrow night or through the weekend?
Classified.
Classified.
There's a reason why they do that. There's a reason why they do that. We're sharing these images with you because no doubt there were people in the buildings, on the streets, taking a look at that, and we want to make sure you understand what was happening. But there's importance on their end to make sure that that information does remain secret. So this is a drill, as you said, Lori, to keep us all safe.
That's right. Well, impressive and disturbing, depending on what you're watching on television as well. So you got to add that in there.
So I don't know. I would take Anonymous seriously.
Yeah, especially when they actually took over the Department of Justice's website and posted a little video, which you saw earlier.
Which was kind of awesome, because these guys, justice, that is not what they're about.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Canadian law courts, but we'll be there on April 30th to see Jeff Mantler get sentenced. With extraordinary powers come extraordinary retribution, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll get justice, right. Don't you know justice means just us?
We'd also like to do a big shout-out to Judge Takahashi, because we're just finishing up a documentary talking about Jeff Mantler's first court case where you got let go scot-free. Let's talk about one last thing here. Let's fit this in.
Okay, you ever heard of Indite?
Okay.
This is like Stellar Wind on steroids.
Anonymous is angry.
This time there will be change, or there will be chaos.
The internet activist group has infiltrated the website of a U.S. Justice Department agency. Hackers leave a whimsical picture and a video ultimatum, suggesting they're poised for a massive leak of sensitive government information.
The contents are various and we won't ruin the speculation by revealing them. Suffice it to say, everyone has secrets, and some things are not meant to be public.
Dubbed Operation Last Resort, the attack is a backlash to the death of leading internet activist Aaron Swartz. It's believed the 26-year-old took his own life earlier this month. Charged with stealing more than 4 million online articles, he was facing up to 35 years in prison. That punishment, according to Anonymous, was disproportionate. Now it wants justice. The loosely knit team of global hackers has made threats in the past, not all of them empty. Anonymous has most famously taken down PayPal, Visa and MasterCard sites, as well as the Sony PlayStation online network. So exactly how serious a threat do they pose?
I think that there's another side to them, that they are engaged in activism and that it is completely nonviolent. But historically, they don't damage the systems of government networks. And so I actually don't know what the scale of the threat is, but I think that I would minimize it more than play it up.
The U.S. Justice Department has not returned Al Jazeera's calls for comment, but the FBI has issued a statement saying it's handling the case as a criminal investigation. Gerald Tan, Al Jazeera.
And make sure that you turn your cell phone off. Stop listening to major corporate news. They are not covering the stories important to humanity, let alone the ones that are important to you.
That's right. The more freedoms we give up, the more they'll take. And unless we ask for them back, they'll keep taking them.
We're here to make sure we get the freedoms back. Please stay tuned. We got more to come. This is Radio Free Canada.
1971, when President Nixon took the United States off what was left of the gold standard, the world has operated under a system of money called fiat. The dollar, the pound, the euro are all government fiat currencies. Fiat is a Latin word meaning let it be so. It is the law that this government currency be money. Indeed, without that legal enforcement, and the fact that we must pay taxes in this money, that dollar bill or that computer digit that represents a dollar would be pretty much meaningless. Only the government has the power to issue fiat money, but banks can create it through lending. If somebody wants to borrow $10, a bank can create it from nowhere and lend it. It can then charge interest. Banks also create money by lending against an asset, such as a house. They're given the deeds to the house, and they create the money out of nowhere and lend it, at interest, of course. But who benefits? Of course, those that have the power to issue money, governments and banks. They haven't had to do anything productive, they just create money.